Hello, everyone. I'm Janelle Renshaw. I'm the youth consultant for the Unity Eastern Region, and welcome to tonight's micro training on 30 seconds to belonging. So, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put everything down. We're going to stop moving. We're going to put our phones away. We're going to put our chat away. You're going to have to take a pause in your dinner, Fred. And we are going to stare not at the screen, but into your camera lens. You might have it up at the top of your laptop, or it may be an external one, but for 60 seconds, and I'm going to put a timer on this, we are just going to stare into your camera lens. You don't have to look at me. You don't have to look at Fred. Okay. You don't have to look at anybody.
Okay.
All right. And when I say go, go. All right, we can stop. Y'all are seasoned, though.
Was that 60 seconds?
That was 60 seconds.
Oh, okay.
That was 60 seconds. So, like, if this was a whole screen of people, there might be some fidgeting or a lot of different, being bored or having to pick up your phone or what have not. But you guys are seasoned. So
I do meditation where I have to focus on stuff. So
yes.
But not look.
Sorry. Fred's still staring at the screen. Oh, did you just send me something? Were you doing something else besides looking at the screen, Fred?
I didn't start my chat until after you said stop.
Okay. All right. But that just kind of gives you an idea of, that again, I could sit there and stare at it for a long time, but there's a lot of people that cannot sit and stare at a screen and do nothing else. They would be compulsed to pick up their phone or check text messages or do something else. And that's online. But imagine, somebody walking into a ministry for the first time. So I'm going to share my screen because I've got a fabulous PowerPoint for you guys this evening. And so this is our workshop that outlines the 30-second rule. And this is a 30-second rule of hospitality with the neuroscience of safety and belonging. And it's designed to move ministry staff and volunteers from viewing greeting as a task to viewing it as a biological regulation, and why it is probably the most important thing and important aspect of the ministry. Like, I'd like to see ministries not even hire, but just dedicate one person, to oversee hospitality. Because I don't know about you, if you've ever gone into a restaurant, and having somebody, there's a difference between hospitality and service. Like, you can get served, but people that are hospitable and doing service at the same time. So I want you to picture a newcomer or a youth that's walking through the doors, for the first time. And before they hear a single note of music, before they even hear a single word of the sermon, their brain subconsciously is asking a single primal question: am I safe here? And while adults have developed coping mechanisms and a fully formed prefrontal cortex to rationalize rejection, youth have not. And so a youth entering a ministry, the stakes are exponentially higher. Now, let's look at the science behind that. And so we all have amygdala, and amygdala, it's the primal part of our brain that's responsible for fight, flight, or freeze. And it's a scanner, and it's constantly sweeping the room for threats, whether when you're walking anywhere, like Jay, when you were walking home, or you are walking to the car, I'm sure that you are constantly aware of your surroundings. Is that correct? I am constantly aware of this, checking my surroundings, what's happening, what's going on, any kind of movement, my brain is registering that. So when someone walks into a new environment, like your ministry, where they don't know anybody or they don't know the social codes, the amygdala is on high alert. And research shows that adolescents are hypersensitive to social exclusion. That's, the reason why they're on social media. They want to feel like they belong. To a teenager walking into a room of strangers isn't just nervousness. It's often processed as an intense survival threat. They're asking a couple of questions. Am I safe? Am I judged? Do I matter? It is our job, it is our spiritual responsibility to interrupt that signal. We often think of hurt feelings as a metaphor, but research tells us that it's actually a biological reality. Researchers used MRI scans to look at what happens in the human brain when someone is socially excluded. What do you think they found?
That the same pain points are triggered.
Yes, they found that rejection lights up a specific area called the dorsal anterior. Mm-hmm. And because that's the exact same part of the brain that lights up when you break your leg or you burn your hand. To your brain, the distress of social pain is indistinguishable from physical pain. Mm-hmm. So, when a guest or a youth feels ignored or out of the loop, it's not just awkward for them, it literally hurts. And we are wired to survive, and our brain interprets isolation as a genuine threat to that survival. Again, our job is to flip that switch from danger to safe. We have to convince their nervous system that they can relax. And we have to do that fast, usually in the first 30 seconds. Within that first 30 seconds of a conversation or an encounter, you must shift the focus entirely off of yourself and onto the other person to encourage, validate, and welcome them. And there's 3 components to this 30-second rule. Hey, Ed, welcome to 30 Seconds to Belonging. It's good to see you. What would have happened if I had just ignored Ed? I'm sure he would have been okay, but I could have just ignored him. But I'm practicing. I'm not practicing. That's just who I am. I want everybody to know that I see them, that I validate them, and that I know they're there and they matter. And that's what we're doing when we do 30 Seconds to Belonging. If Ed wasn't so secure in his being, he didn't get acknowledged, he may have just logged off. So again,
and it's my 68th birthday today.
Oh, and it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Ed. I'm glad you're here.
That's right.
So fantastic. So there are 3 components to this 30-second rule. You have the radar, which is constantly scanning the room for fight or flight. You have an approach, initiating contact within 30 seconds of spotting someone. And you have the shift, speaking an encouraging word or asking a question about them. Hey, what's happening here? Okay, the scanning, the radar, constantly scanning the room for fight or flight posture. We've all been there. You walk into a room where you don't know a soul, and that wave of anxiety hits you. And so what's the first thing you might do? What would be the first thing that you do?
You fold your arms and look at your phone.
Hey, that's right. It's on the screen. There you go.
Screen.
Some people might pull out their phone or cross their arms, or find a spot near the exit.
Yeah,
Why?
they also won't look you in the eye either.
Yeah,
The kids won't look you in the eye.
no, they will not. And all they're doing is they're protecting themselves. Again, we are primal beings in a somewhat civilized world, but at the heart of us, we are primal beings. So this is the radar that we need to develop. When we scan the crowd, we are looking for people who are currently living in a moment of anxiety. And again, you can notice those signals by the crossed arms, the phone fixation, hovering near the door. That standing next to the exit says, "I'm ready to run." We need to see these not as signs of being antisocial, but as cries for connection. They are waiting for someone to prove to them that it's safe to put the phone down and step away from the exit. Once your radar spots these signals, what do you do next? You have to break the barrier. The 30-second rule is kind of a rescue mission. Remember that the brain scans. That person standing by the wall is currently experiencing a threat response. And every second they spend isolated, their brain is flooding with cortisol. They are scanning for a threat, feeling the pain of exclusion. Your job is to be the interrupter of those thoughts. And so when you approach within 30 seconds, you interrupt that pain signal and you interrupt the fight or flight response. You're essentially telling their brain, you are safe, you are seen, you are welcome, and you belong. Now, I don't want people to overthink the opening line. Just get your feet moving. A lot of times we'll kind of just stand there and go, are they okay? Are they not okay? The rescue doesn't happen when you say something smart. It happens the moment you start walking over. And this 30-second rule isn't just about the guest. As I mentioned, it's for you. Like I said, we often hesitate to approach someone who looks closed off. Maybe maybe because we are afraid of bothering them, we think maybe they just want to be alone. But I don't think so. The 30-second rule forces you to bypass your own hesitation. If you wait longer than 30 seconds, you'll talk your own self out of it and lose the connection with, a so-called, a new youth or somebody that really needs the space that the ministry provides. Sorry, Mr. Trackers, you have to go down off I can't see my screen. If you see them, you have 30 seconds to be standing in front of them with a smile. It removes the guesswork and prioritizes their comfort over your fear. Janelle, Jay, did you have your hand up? Oh, Fred did. Yes, Fred.
Two things. One, presence over perfection. You used the word rescue.
Oh,
and yeah. I'm wondering why you use rescue. I would think it would be to establish connection.
Yes, you're absolutely right. That's a typo. I missed that. That should be the connection happens when you show up, not when what you say. Thank you for that, Fred. I'll change that before I send out the PDF with all these notes. And
I have to go turn off my stove.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
The other thing, Janelle, I'm finding is a lot of them, at least my kids are, they're using the I'm bored thing, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the I'm bored thing in that, first few minutes, and my response now is, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it kind of catches them off guard, but I've been reading a few things about how boredom is actually great for you because it forces you to have creation, and your creative process then will start developing around the boredom. So, but I'm trying to get them more into, especially in those first early minutes of any class we're doing or whatever, is how do I get them involved? And if they're bored, then I ask them, well, what do you want to do? What's important to you right now?
Mm,
What game do you want to play? Do you have a game you like that everybody
yeah.
can play? So
Yeah.
we've been searching that out a little bit, but it's just been, that gets them out of the shell a little bit. And I've got to get out of my own shell of if I have something that I think I'm supposed to do, but I'm not getting there. Well, let them figure it out.
Yes. I like that. Yeah. Okay. And asking, like the question that you asked is like, well, what do you want to do? Because the approach is pivotal. So yes, Fred.
I've been reading Brene Brown's book, Daring Bravely.
Mm,
She talks about this very thing, that we can build a resilience to those situations like you're talking about, but becoming deeply aware of those feelings of wanting connection and feeling out of place and stuff like that. So, and to me, that goes along with Viktor Frankl's idea that when we're triggered, we still have a choice on how we're going to respond. And if we can count to 10, or you've got 30 seconds to build that resilience so that we can take our next step into feeling more comfortable if somebody doesn't show up and smile for us.
yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that reminded me of the back during COVID, when COVID started and we did the online rally, and I did that 8 seconds. I did a talk on 8 seconds because I used to work at a place called 8 Seconds, and they did bull riding. And the reason that riders need to stay on that bull for 8 seconds is because by the time they get to the 8 seconds, that bull has kind of worn down and it's not as bucking as it was before. And that's kind of like the mind, you've got, if you give your mind like 8 seconds or 30 seconds, or like you said, Fred, 10 seconds, it'll look for a better solution than what it's making up in those first initial seconds.
And the other, since we're hitting books, I mean, I'm reading A New Earth, and it's so great around the idea of your ego.
Mm-hmm.
And we walk into the classroom with this idea that I'm the sponsor. I know all, right? So we need to drop that thing too. And, again, it gets back to, so what do you want to do?
Yes, absolutely.
And get that engagement going. So, okay, I'll stop. Go, Janelle, go.
It's your birthday, man. You can, yeah. So the 30-second rule, once you've walked over, yes, Jay.
One of the things I want to say, even as an adult, how I feel when I go into a space where other people know each other and I see the familiarity and I don't have it, and they just say, "Oh, hi, Jay, welcome." But then they continue, the engagement. I feel very awkward, left out, and it's a very uncomfortable feeling. I have to say. So
yes.
I am very mindful of that when I have new kids that come in. We do introduction, tell us something that fun about yourself, or I play a game, icebreaker, where everybody has, engage, and I make sure that they feel part of the group, right?
Ye-
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because and what you just mentioned was only, yes, they acknowledge or they saw you and they acknowledged you, but they didn't complete it. So the
Yeah.
30-second rule has the three different components to it. Which we're going to go into in just a second. Thank you for I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like if I don't feel comfortable, I'm looking for the exit, you know.
And I'm sorry, Janelle, I have to jump off. I have a class that starts,
Okay.
and, you know, but I'm glad that you're recording it because I really do want to see the rest of this.
You betcha. It's good to see you.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay.
So once you walked over, the goal here is to lower the pressure. When someone is in fight or flight mode, a high pressure question will make them retreat further. So we always want to start with warm eyes, soften your look and smile and a friendly voice. The open body, face them fully and don't hide behind a table or, cross your arms as well. And the biggest mistake we make, when we go up to somebody is, especially if it's somebody new to the ministry or, a youth that's just walking, is the question is, are you new? If they've been there 3 times and you just didn't notice, you've just insulted them. And if they are new, you've put them on the spot. And so, one of the safety statements that you can use is, I don't think we've met. My name is so-and-so. We should all have a go-to something, whether it's something like this or, in business, they call it the elevator pitch, but this is not an elevator pitch, but a slight introduction or something like your go-to that it just kind of rolls up your tongue, sort of like an intention. So, other points when approaching someone who may feel anxious, direct eye contact can feel aggressive. So possibly use like a third object to break the ice. And don't talk about them, talk about something in the environment that you both can see. Like, did you try the coffee yet? I think it's stronger than usual today. Or I love those shoes. Or for teens, I love what you're doing with your hair today. Or that's a cool shirt. Things of that nature. Completely take the focus off of yourself and something in the environment. Like I mentioned, shoes or a t-shirt or something on the wall is a safe place to be. Because focusing on a third object, you create this triangle. It's you, them, and the object. It takes the spotlight off of you, it takes the spotlight off of them, and it feels more comfortable. It lowers that heart rate and opens up the door. Also, avoid yes and no questions. I don't know how many times I've gone to a teen and asked the yes or no question and just gotten the yes or the no, and it doesn't go anywhere. It just feels awkward. So always stick to statements that invite a response. When we do this, we're signaling to their brain that you can stand down and you are safe. You're safe with me. You're safe here. It's okay. And that's when the real connection begins. So once you've broken the ice and got their name, like Jay was saying, they said something, they acknowledged her, they said, hi, how you doing? But then they left her. So when we do that, we're not bridging a connection. When the connection gets broken and somebody has to start all over again with them. And so when we meet somebody new, we connect with them and then we connect them with somebody else, so that now that they don't not just have one person they've connected with, they have 2. And once you have 2 people that you're connected to in a room, everything starts to be a little bit more comfortable. I wanted to give you a couple of more openers before we go into the bridging from you to another person to continue that safety. So I don't know, does anybody here have dogs? Ed, do you have a dog? No? Okay. Have you ever observed a dog during playtime, how they crouch down and kind of wiggle their butt a little bit? Okay. So when they do this, it's telling the other dog that I'm safe and I'm friendly and that I'm humbling myself to let you know that I'm not a threat. And so I don't here's some other approaches that they call the humble approach, because it's one of the most powerful tools in neuroscience for lowering defenses. When you approach somebody with authority or high confidence, their amygdala might perceive you as a potential threat. And so when you approach with humility, you lower your status. I think when you mentioned, Ed, that you had to lose the idea that you're the sponsor. Right there, right, that in there is a humbling of, I'm not above you, I'm not the teacher, I'm here in this room for you. And that's a humbling bow for the youth. It signals to their brain that you're not a threat. And, so this is going to be in the PDF, but here's some really cool, humble approaches when you encounter somebody, like, I'm having a total brain freeze today. I know we've met, but my memory is failing me. And blank, I'm Janelle. If I look dazed, it's because I haven't had my second cup of coffee. So there's all kinds of different ways to approach, humble yourself when you're approaching somebody. One of the worst things that we can do is kind of go up to somebody and tell them all about our ministry or all about the youth, the youth and family or YOU or rally or something like that. That's the last thing that they want to know about. They really just want to know, am I safe? And so when we humble ourselves, again, that is the neuroscience that is saying that you're safe here with me. So once we've scanned the room and we've approached them, now we have to bridge. We have to make that bridge. This is a trap that most of us fall into, is that, again, we see the person that's anxious and we talk to them for 5 minutes. They feel good, but then, you walk away and the problem again has just started all over. You've paused, you've put a pause on their loneliness. And when you walk away, it pushes play. So the goal of the bridge is to connect that person to someone else before you leave. So hopefully during your conversation, you picked up on one small fact about them. Maybe they like sports, maybe they go to a specific school or a hobby, or maybe they just like the snacks at YOU. Use that fact to pull a third person in. By highlighting a shared interest, immediately you give them a conversation starter and you are handing them a topic so that they don't have to stand there in silence. You're not just introducing two people, you're starting a conversation for them. So, this is the biggest thing, is just remember, you're not the destination. We don't want to grab somebody and then hold their hand all the way through. Because if you're not there the next week, they're not going to know what to do. And again, that starts that whole process all over again. Hi, Jay. Welcome back. I missed you. We just got into the bridge. I brought you in where, again, you were at that space and they said hi and everything, but then the anxiety came right back because they didn't create the bridge. So again, you can't leave their side until you have physically introduced them to that second person. And once you kind of, connect them, then you are free to go, find the next person looking for the door. So, make sure, unless again, you don't, unless you really like the person and you really hit it off, and then, yeah, you can hang out with them the whole time. But the idea is to have them involved with the whole experience, not just you. Next one, connection. When you use the radar to see the unseen, the approach to break the barrier, the opener to create safety, and the bridge to create connection, you're doing something far more smoother than running a Sunday morning experience.
Mm.
You're dismantling isolation, and you're turning a room full of strangers into a community where no one has to stand alone. And that's what it's about. I was looking at something online. It was called Radical Hospitality.
Mm.
Radical hospitality. And I think that's what, I think that's something that's missing in a lot of ministries, is that it's just you have greeters that greet you, but radical hospitality is something so much more. And that's why I feel like ministries, it would benefit them greatly to have a single person maybe take a training course on radical hospitality to greet the youth, to greet others that are new coming into the congregation, because a lot of people are one and done. They come once and they're out.
Mhm.
Why? Because they didn't feel safe. They didn't get connected, and they went for the door.